After that, his mind, he started feeling drowsy and sleepy, and he said, I want to sleep. And so he slept. And when he woke up in a clinic in Switzerland. And that was it. The story is that.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you very much. You can, of course, ask whatever question. I know now you're full of questions.
What was the medicine of the time?
The medicine of the time.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to have been a very advanced technology in terms of medicine. And the technology, the techniques that they used for him when they were examining him were far more advanced than the 20th century guy. But of course, today, I mean, even if they examined him today, he would be shocked, you know, with all these MRI machines and all this. Imagine at that time how advanced they are, very advanced in terms of medicine. There is no talk about cancer. I'm not kidding. There is no mention about cancer. But of course, people get sick. They have accidents. They have hospitals. Yes, they do.
Was life extended in that time?
No. It's about the same thing as we have now. The same thing. Not more, people don't live up to 150, let's say, no. As we have it today.
It was interesting, you said that the food supply was all GMOs and then gradually they went back to a natural.
Because they had achieved the, their goal to feed everyone. So after they feeded everyone, they said, okay, now that you have food, at least you are not going to die, now we can start growing food naturally. And they had, that was the shift in the Neue Era. After the first 1,000 years of their time, then they started shifting back to traditional methods of livestock. They're not vegetarians necessarily, some of them are, but not all of them are vegetarians, of course. And because I made a complaint, I was telling you in the morning, and your wife and Francis, that after my presentation a week ago, somebody learned about it and found a fantastic story on the internet which has nothing to do with the story, nothing to do with the book. And he, copied, pasted the story. It has nothing to do with what is written in the book. It is full of lies and full of distortions. With the exception, of course, that he is using the exact dates about Mars and nuclear reaction, destruction. All the rest is fantasy. He's building out and finding things and putting in whatever he wishes for things to happen. No. I've read the book 3 times and made sure every detail I could scan so that I could bring it, the essence here. Of course, each time you ask me questions, I will be able to recall things and tell you. People accept reincarnation at the time. They know for a fact that we can grow. They accept the fact that there is a spiritual world, of course. They know that because of their ability now to oversee. You see, all the people that Dienach was associating with, they had this ability. He did not have it because he was a 20th century personality, but they had the ability to see the other reality. And there are hundreds of places there, hundreds of institutes who were studying human consciousness. It was not only the Ederson Institute. I think I have at least 20 institutes here mentioned. But it is the Ederson Institute that Alexis Volky made the breakthrough, and it's written down in history. They were all working for this direction. They were all trying to develop the mental capacities of the human mind. They knew that we know today that we are underworking. We are under, we are on autopilot, let's say. We have tremendous capacities. We know that. And it is what I said, focus on the exceptional experience. If you focus on the exceptional experience, you will find whatever you want. I mentioned the other day at the ARE, there is a syndrome called autobiographical memory syndrome. There are people who remember whatever happened in their lives, everything, with every detail, every day. And they can ask them, there was a 60 Minutes, it was shown on 60 Minutes, I don't know when exactly. It's on YouTube. If you write autobiographical syndrome, you will immediately, and 60 Minutes, you will find it there. So they know, you ask them, what happened in September 10 of 1995? They will tell you what they ate for breakfast, where they went, what were they studying at the time, what problems at work were, everything in pure detail. And they check them out, and it is always true. So what I'm saying is that these people function normally. They're not dysfunctional whatsoever. They just remember everything. So that means that we are not using, the rest of us, the 7 billion rest of us, there are 5 people now that they have found, okay? But the other 7 billion are stupid as compared to them. We are stupid. We have to admit that. I mean, we forget. We forget a lot of things. Sometimes we have to forget things because we go crazy, but they can handle whatever they remember. So, what I'm saying is that these people had institutes and they were working to develop, to make that shift in consciousn's happen. And they labored on that. They worked a lot for this to happen. And it did indeed happen at the end. So, a lady that at the same day Alexis Volky made the breakthrough, as I told you, a lot of people started having the same breakthrough. So there was a young girl, 19 years old, I think her name was Maria Lea something, and she couldn't hold the beauty, you know, she was so ecstatic through this process that she couldn't handle this beauty, the Reuswirrheit, as we were telling a while ago. It was such an ineffable feeling that she jumped off a cliff. And she committed suicide so that she would go to the other side immediately. So from there on, people were going there and leaving flowers to the spot where she committed suicide for her memory, and they had each year they had a memorial for her, you know, to honor her, because she was the second person actually who had that breakthrough. Anyway, I think you're tired, but I'm sure you have other questions.
That was cool.
So what I'm saying is this now, we have to come to the essence of it. If all these things come true, suppose this story is totally true, suppose we had a machine right now and it took us in 3906, and we discovered that indeed history worked its way out this way, then, I mean, how can that be? How could that happen? So if that is the case, then people are now building the Parthenon, they are now building the pyramids, the Empire State Building is now built, and so on. So is everything happening at the same time?
Yes.
We think so.
Yes, we think so.
If this book has a reality in it, and it seems that it has reality, so far, of course, you know, it would be great if we were discovered that book in 2500. Then we would know for sure about the Mars thing, we would know for sure about the nuclear war, we would know for sure everything. Then we would be more convinced. That's why I said, take that picture, frame it, send it to your grandchildren, and ask them to give it to their grandchildren, and so on. Because it's only 8 generations from that thing on Mars. It's only 8 generations. If we count as a generation of 25 years, it's only 8 generations away. It's not that far. So we have to spread the word.
Yes, we do. Don't go to Mars, whatever you do.
They're talking about it right now, colonizing Mars.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And that thing about the glowing roses, I read something on, I think it's Life Science, that scientists were considering creating a tree that the leaves would glow at night. So
Really?
Yeah, that we won't need to use lights in the streets.
Wow.
I have no idea.
And if you read some of the UFOs theories, they're
Yes.
huge cigar-shaped ships that are, you know,
Yeah,
all
it sounds
common.
like-
Now that you mentioned UFOs, okay, another subject. Who stopped, who prevented the human race from total extinction at that time? The ETs did. He is mentioning that in the book. He says that a foreign civilization intervened at the last moment to stop everything from being wiped out. We were at the fringe of being wiped out totally, because only a few million were left actually at the Scandinavia and the Baltic countries. So it was an intervention from extraterrestrials, and he mentions that specifically. And when he asks these people now, are there extraterrestrial civilizations? Of course there are. There are very many. They are very far away from here. There is no way for us to communicate, and they only intervened at that time. You know, they made a severe, not severe, a drastic intervention to prevent us from total destruction. We know they are there, they know we are here, but after the Mars destruction, people never bothered to travel again further away. They just colonized the atmosphere around here. So around the periphery of the Earth, there are huge cities that are just revolving around, and instead of going to Brace, Virginia, you go up there, you know, and have fun. There are hotels over there, Sivas hotels, Kivas hotels, but people go there for fun. They go there to stay and relax and have fun. One more thing. One day of the year, those 5 extra days of the year, they have religious ceremonies. One of them is like a Thanksgiving today, like we have the Thanksgiving. And that's the only day he saw in a whole year that people opened wine and drank wine. It was the only time. Yeah, they don't drink booze, no booze, no alcohol. And actually, they only, you know, they open the wine, they put just a little in the glass, they shake it, they smell it, they put a little in the mouth, and that is it. They don't really drink. They don't smoke. They don't drink, they don't smoke.
They don't have
They
sex.
don't
I don't know about drugs. He doesn't mention anything about drugs or, you know, heroin or cocaine or LSD. No mention of such things. I don't know if the people do that. But at least they seem so naive. These people are so naive and so, you know, romantic.
It's all about
That's unbelievable.
love.
Excuse me?
It's all about love for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
But if you take,
that's their drug.
yeah, if you take away competition and greed and all the negative attributes that we have, what is left is all the good stuff, which is actually pretty boring, probably. So,
Now, what you said, okay, yeah,
They've been
probably it's
transformed.
boring, but listen, as I was doing this research, and that's very interesting, I ran into an interview by a guy who is, his name is, Bilek. Now, tell me what you say, I don't know. But Bilek, supposedly, was in the Philadelphia experiment and in the Montauk experiment. Okay? And he flew forward in time. And he stopped at the year 2137 and then at the year 2749. Now, he has 38 minutes of an interview. It's on YouTube. And he says what he saw when he was there. Now, he doesn't say the word Commonwealth, he says socialist, because he's an American, he was a military guy, of course, and for him this was a disgrace, let's say. But he describes exactly what Dienach is saying in the book for that period. And he's saying there was a nuclear war. There was a total destruction because of overpopulation. He says that there is no private property and there will never be because people are afraid that they will reach there. And he lives there for 2 years and he becomes a guide and he guides people around who come there for tourism and he guides them around the city in America. He is in America. He is in America, not in Europe. So it seems that something survived in America. So, from his account, the point is that he says that everything is owned by the state, that there is no private property, that he talks about this technology, about a supercomputer, you know, which is a crystal actually, like the ones you build up there, but super technology, and it's amazing how similar his account. I don't know now if I can take it seriously or not, but what he says is that, well, I think in the future, that's why you reminded me of this, in the future he says, well, people, since they have no need for profit, this will dissolve and collapse. He made a projection there and a prediction of his own, because of his prejudice, but it seems not only no collapse, it flourished and flourished and flourished. So he makes that prediction, that's the only projection he makes, and also he says that in 2000 people, he said that there is going to be a nuclear war, because they didn't tell him exactly when the nuclear war in the future happened. So you get my point. He makes probably that will happen in the year 2000. So this interview is before 2000. It's a radio interview, and it's posted on YouTube, and it says year 2749. So you can listen to it for yourselves. If you deduct those two things, his projections for the future, and his assumption that the war took place in 2000, which it did not, all the other things he says seem to coincide with what Dienach says. And he seems quite a reasonable person, even though people say that he's a lunatic and he's a psychotic and whatever. If you listen to him,
but that kind of ties up with the Bible, where they talk about, is it in Revelations, I'm not that familiar with it, where a new heaven will be created on earth.
yes.
So that is way off in the future.
Yes,
But
the
it's a
Republic
possibility.
of Plato, the Republic of Plato,
Yeah,
the ideal society. This is,
there we go, yeah.
he actually describes the society in the same way. He says that the only way for a society to be able to exist is not to have the politicians, but to have the best people, the aristocracy, take care of the intellectuals, the philosophers to take over and rule the government, be the government. It's only then that you will see happiness in society. You get my point?
Doesn't he say the intellectual and spiritual should take over?
well, you know, intellectual and spiritual, yes, it's, yeah. That's what Plato suggests in the Republic.
So if there's no constitution of marriage anymore, and everything's about, like the book is about love, then
It's about
the
love.
person that you want to be with, it doesn't matter what sex, because they say anything about that, that it's just about love. So, as far as gay relationships, or it's just about love.
It's about love. He doesn't mention anything about. No, he mentions something about gay people. They are accepted in that society. Yes, they are free to do whatever they want. Actually, they are not restrained. And nobody is putting rules on them on how they will behave in bed. But it just so happens that they expect love to be the motive for any relationship. They don't do sex for sex. They don't do it for, and they don't do it for kids either. I mean, you know, it's. They protect themselves, so they don't have kids unless they are allowed to do that.
I don't understand. What's the criteria for being allowed?
The criteria is the level of the population. They want to sustain the level to a specific number of people. They do not want to break that. So, like now, the Chinese, for instance, we know that they, not now anymore, but till 10 years ago, they had that one child per couple. Now they broke that. So they will start extending. The Indian people are now 1,300,000,000. They are about 7 million behind the Chinese, but they have no restrictions whatsoever. They have 5, 10 kids each family. So within 5 years from now, they will be far beyond Chinese. They will be the #1 population in the world. And when he says colored, to my mind, as I understand it, it's these guys he's talking about. Pakistanis, Indians, Bangladesh, the Indonesians, the Chinese of course, and all these people will be wiped out. Very few will remain alive. And it seems, I don't know, it's too early to say that for us. But if they do not control and they do not restrain the population, Thomas Malthus's projections, as he made the statistical curves, he has predicted that years ago that the whole system will collapse. And we just pretend that it is not happening, and it seems that that was actually the main mistake of the future governance. That was the main mistake, and they tried to control it. They had, like a United Nations from 100 years from now, they made a new United Nations, and they had Congress and Senate, and they were fighting with each other all the time, and they wouldn't control, this I did not say in the presentation, and they were fighting with each other all the time, and they couldn't solve the problem. The churches were opposing in any control and any restraint, and that's when everything collapsed from one day to the other. I mean, it went out of hand. They didn't have water to drink, they didn't have to get rid of their
Waste.
waste, yes. So it was a very, very bad conditions, and a lot of pollution, and the environment was deteriorating rapidly. Will be now, but for the story it was. So now, if that would be, if the consciousness of this would help us to prevent this from happening, to alter the events of the future, but I don't know. Maybe that the consciousness of us focusing on this story, you know, it's like the experiments in physics. When physicists concentrate on a particular object of their experiment, they alter the experiment. They change everything. So probably by focusing on this story, we may shift everything and change the course of things. So that might prove a blatant lie after a while. You never know. I don't know. I'm just making a guess now.
Well, it wouldn't be a lie, it would just be an alternative reality.
Yeah, alternative reality and another possibility.
Yeah.
This is a possibility,
Yeah.
probably. And other physicists actually suggest that not only Hawking is suggesting that not only one possibility is now taking place, but a lot of them. So probably that was one of the possibilities that may indeed happen, but there is another one in another dimension that is also taking place, and this is not the case. It will be another.
And if time is contemporaneous, then multiple possibilities could be
Yes.
simultaneously executing in different dimensions.
Dimensions. So how could we know? I don't know. This is a puzzle. But it's good to know the puzzle, sleep with it, and whatever comes, comes. I mean,
You mentioned the old 3-minute.
yes.
Something?
Yes, it was, yeah. Do you want to see it?
Sure.
The 3-minute thing?
We got 3 minutes. Huh?
Francis is going to sleep. He's ready.
So is Paula. I know that feeling. I've been there. And I tried so hard to stay alone. I just couldn't do it.
Looks so different without your girlfriend. Oh, I need to slow down. You're staying here.
That much except up here.
I was gonna say, that doesn't sound like Robin. That would be a bad move. I suppose you have a long, long day tomorrow.
What do you think, sleep over here?
That's what makes a real nap.
Yesterday.
Who's working on it?
Sorry. Sorry. On. You have to raise the volume, please.
Anyway, so.
Okay. Are we all here? That's 3 minutes.
For her on Tuesday and
But
Wednesday
it's-
and teach all day tomorrow.
Imagine prisoners that have spent their entire lives chained deep inside a cave. They have been chained so that they cannot see behind themselves, and they are forced to stare endlessly at the cave wall in front of them. Behind them, a fire is burning, and between the prisoners and the fire is a raised walkway. Now imagine that each day a menagerie of objects crosses the walkway. Animals and people carrying their wares to market. Their shapes create an intricate shadow play on the wall in front of the prisoners. This is the only world that the prisoners have ever known. The shadows and the echoes of unseen objects. Now, imagine that a prisoner is released. After some time adjusting to the blinding light, the freed prisoner will begin to experience the world outside of the cave for the very first time. And it is like nothing he could have ever imagined. perception of the world, the man will of course want to return to his friends to share his incredible discoveries. But the prisoners cannot recognize their old friend. He appears as all things do. His voice is a distorted echo, and his body is a grotesque shadow. They cannot understand his fantastic stories of the world outside of the cave. To them, it will never exist. This, of course, does not make the world outside of the cave any less real.
Wow.
This is actually reminiscent of all these people who have near-death experiences and they come back. And that's how we behave. We cannot understand what they are talking about. It's that allegory by Plato. Okay, you got it?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was a real mind exercise, was it?
Change that future. You can hurt your temple and you won't squirt on that.
I've been doing it.
It's
I think
interesting
already
that
I think a lot of it is already that we are.
So when are you guys supposed to? Here's the ambassador up there.
vocals,
Maybe slow, but
explosion,
it's
breakthrough.
happening. It's
On
like
the
it's
screen,
100 months.
he was saying after
Oh.
a lot of time of meditation, apparently the meditation didn't
Works.
come on.